journey back through the ages to become silent witnesses to one of the most devastating conflicts in the annals of ancient Greece, the Peloponnesian War. This is a narrative of how two once-allied city-states, Athens and Sparta, clashed in a ruthless struggle. This war not only reshaped the political map of ancient Greece but also offered harsh lessons on the nature of power, intricate political intrigues, and boundless human ambition. It is a saga of unwavering courage, base betrayal, and the tragic consequences that inevitably accompany any protracted war. The Peloponnesian War marked a pivotal moment in human history, demonstrating that power, much like a double-edged sword, can be both the greatest gift and a deadly curse. Discover how events unfolded and to what end this tragedy ultimately led. The Peloponnesian War was more than just a military confrontation, it was a clash of diametrically opposed ideologies: democracy, personified by Athens, and oligarchy, represented by Sparta. It was a struggle between a maritime power with its developed trade routes and a land-based state whose might was founded on military strength. The conflict erupted not only for dominance over Greece but also for the very definition of the future of Greek civilization. The origins of this large-scale conflict are rooted in the period following the victorious Persian Wars. Athens, once a bulwark of Greek freedom, significantly strengthened its position through the Delian League, formed to protect against potential Persian aggression. However, over time, Athens transformed this league into an empire, subjugating smaller city-states and exploiting their resources for its own self-serving ends. Any attempts by these cities to break free from Athenian hegemony were ruthlessly suppressed. Sparta, in turn, led the Peloponnesian League, which united oligarchic states fearful of Athens' growing power. Unlike Athens, which prospered through trade and democratic principles, Sparta was an austere, militaristic state where its land army formed the bedrock of its military might. As Athens expanded its influence through diplomacy and military force, tension steadily mounted between it and Sparta and its allies. Many Greek states found themselves drawn into the rivalry between these two superpowers, forced to choose a side in a conflict that would determine the region's fate for years to come. The striking contrast between Athens and Sparta was evident to any observer. Athens, renowned for its art, flourishing philosophy, and formidable fleet, held an unwavering belief in its cultural and political superiority. Sparta, with its rigid discipline and militaristic way of life, prioritized stability above all else and viewed Athens as a dangerous force threatening established Greek traditions. In an atmosphere of increasingly frequent skirmishes and incessant disputes, a full-scale war seemed inevitable. Every city-state sensed the approaching conflict, understanding that it was only a matter of time. Several fateful events pushed Athens and Sparta to the brink. The Corcyra incident in 433 BC, when Athens intervened in a conflict between Corinth and Corcyra, supporting the latter against Corinth, a key Spartan ally, caused alarm within the Peloponnesian League. This was followed by the Potidæa revolt in 432 BC, when Athens ordered Potidæa, a Corinthian colony, to sever ties with Corinth and submit to Athenian authority. Potidæa resisted with Spartan backing, leading to a prolonged Athenian siege. Finally, the Megarian decree, through which Athens imposed economic sanctions on Megara, a Spartan ally, severely impacting its trade, further exacerbated hostilities. Sparta, feeling its existence threatened, issued an ultimatum: Athens must liberate its dependent states or face war. When Athens rejected this demand, the Peloponnesian War erupted in 431 BC. The Greek world was plunged into chaos, brother against brother in a struggle that would engulf generations. In the early years of the war, fierce sieges unfolded, alliances formed and fractured, and the death toll steadily rose. Athens relied on its impregnable walls and the might of its fleet, while Sparta ravaged agricultural lands, seeking to starve its opponent into submission. However, neither side was willing to yield, leading to an exhausting war of attrition. Sparta, possessing superior land forces, invaded Attica, burning fields and villages to induce famine and compel the Athenians to capitulate. Athens, under the leadership of the visionary statesman Pericles, adopted a different strategy, avoiding direct land battles and relying on its fleet to control maritime trade routes and raid the Spartan coast. This strategy initially proved successful, but in 430 BC, a terrible catastrophe struck Athens. A deadly plague swept through the city. Overcrowding within the city walls made it impossible to contain the disease. The plague claimed tens of thousands of lives, including Pericles himself, delivering a crushing blow to Athenian morale and leadership. As Athens weakened, its allies began to show doubts about their loyalty. Could the great Athenian empire withstand this relentless test of time? Despite a series of setbacks, fortune did smile upon Athens during the Peloponnesian War, granting it several significant victories. One of the most notable episodes was the daring capture of 100 elite Spartan warriors by Athenian forces at the Battle of Pylos in 425 BC. This event was an unprecedented blow to Sparta's pride, whose military reputation had been unshakable. A humiliated Sparta offered peace negotiations, but Athens, intoxicated by success, rejected the offer, choosing instead to capitalize on its advantage for further pressure. In 421 BC, after many years of bloody fighting, both sides, exhausted by the war, concluded the Peace of Nicias, intended to establish a truce for 50 years. Alas, this peace proved fragile and lasted only 6 years. The ambitions of both city-states, still unsatisfied, continued to smolder beneath the ashes of the truce, awaiting a new spark to reignite the conflict. Athens, still obsessed with expanding its influence, made the fateful decision to invade Sicily in 415 BC. The objective of this military campaign was to weaken Sparta by capturing Syracuse, a powerful Spartan ally. However, the Sicilian expedition was marred by a host of factors: dreadful planning, disagreements within the command, and unexpectedly fierce Syracusan resistance. One of the key figures whose actions led to the disaster was Alcibiades, a charismatic yet controversial Athenian leader. Accused of religious crimes, he defected to Sparta and helped them devise a strategy to counter Athens. At the same time, the Athenian general Nicias, who had initially opposed the invasion, displayed fatal indecisiveness at critical moments. The outcome was an utter catastrophe. By 413 BC, the Athenian expedition was completely annihilated. Thousands of Athenian soldiers were killed or captured and sent to the dreadful conditions of the Sicilian quarries. This crushing loss severely weakened Athens. The once proud city, dreaming of an empire, found itself on the brink of collapse. Capitalizing on Athens' weakened state, Sparta revised its strategy. With Persian financial backing, the Spartans built a formidable fleet to challenge Athenian naval dominance. Over time, Athens struggled to hold on to its empire as revolts spread and resources dwindled. The burden of decades of war finally broke them. The decisive moment came in 405 BC at the Battle of Aegospotami. The Spartan fleet, under the command of Lysander, launched a surprise attack, destroying almost the entire Athenian fleet. Deprived of its naval power and with supply lines cut, Athens faced starvation. In 404 BC, Athens capitulated. Sparta's terms were harsh, and the era of Athenian dominance came to an end. However, Sparta's rule proved short-lived, as Thebes and Macedon soon rose to challenge it. The Peloponnesian War stands before us as a stark lesson, vividly demonstrating how destructive boundless ambition can be, how unreliable political alliances are, and the exorbitant price that must be paid for prolonged military conflicts. This conflict so thoroughly exhausted the Greek city-states that, in the very next century, they fell under the sway of a new, even more powerful force, the Macedonian Empire. This serves as a potent reminder that political power is transient, and excessive pride and overconfidence can lead to the downfall of even the most prosperous civilizations. Even today, the echoes of the Peloponnesian War are distinctly heard in modern geopolitics, reminding us how new, emerging states challenge the existing world order, often leading to armed conflicts and instability on the international stage.